Welcome to this explainer, where we're diving straight into the ancient secrets of fate, karma, and figuring out just how much control we actually have over our own destiny. If you've ever felt like your life is just some script already written by a massive cosmic force, well, you're definitely not alone. But today, we're going to look at some incredible ancient wisdom that completely flips that entire idea on its head.
So let's just jump right into it with a pretty provocative question. Is everything that happens to us just fate? You know, we kind of tend to view destiny as this rigid, totally unchangeable path. And when things get really tough, our first instinct is usually to try and bargain with the divine. We think, hey, if I just perform the right ritual or make the right promise, maybe I can bribe the universe into giving me a better hand.
The source text actually kicks things off with this amazing, kind of funny story that perfectly captures this human tendency. Picture this. You've got a super wealthy merchant on a ship, and they get caught in an absolute nightmare of a hurricane. The waves are relentless, tossing the ship around, and everyone is terrified. The merchant, staring right into the cruel jaws of death, panics. He prays to God and promises that if he survives, he will sell his massive, multi-core house and donate every single penny to God.
But, as you might guess, the storm passes. The sea calms down, and the merchant makes it safely to land. And suddenly, he starts doing the math. He realizes he's about to lose crores of rupees, and he deeply, deeply regrets his very expensive promise. So he finds a loophole. He takes a puppy, slaps a 3-core price tag on it, and prices his grand house at a mere 1,000 rupees. He lists them as a strict package deal. Obviously, a buyer happily takes the deal, and the merchant proudly drops exactly 1,000 rupees into the temple donation box, keeping the 3 cores for himself. He's totally convinced he just pulled a fast one on the universe.
I love that story because it beautifully highlights a major myth we hold about the universe. I mean, think about it. If God actually accepted these purely transactional prayers, these loophole promises and praises like they were bribes, wouldn't that just make divine justice entirely corrupt? Would God just be acting like a susceptible politician who favors whoever sings the loudest bogus hymns? The text argues that no, true cosmic justice absolutely cannot operate this way. To understand how it actually works, we have to look at our spiritual finances.
Let's dive into the karma bank account.
To really unpack this, the text brings the deeply mystical concept of karma right down to earth by comparing it to something we all understand, a bank account. Our karma isn't just one giant, unchangeable block of fate that dictates every single second of our existence. Instead, it's highly organized into 3 distinct types that independently control our past, our present, and our future. Let's break these down.
First up, we have Sanchita Karma. Think of this as your massive, accumulated savings account. This represents the grand total of absolutely everything you have ever done. Every single good deed, every bad deed, every virtue, every sin, accumulated across all previous lifetimes. It's the ultimate reserve sitting right there in the cosmic vault.
Next is Prarabdha Karma. Now, you obviously can't spend your entire life savings in one single day, right? It's the same here. You cannot process all of your Sanchita karma in one lifetime. So, Prarabdha karma is the specific withdrawal you've taken out for this current life. This is the karma that sets up your environment right now. It dictates the circumstances of your birth, your baseline challenges, the scenarios you are currently facing. Basically, this is the fate your horoscope is usually reading.
What's genuinely fascinating about this is how clearly it separates the immense fate we have stored away from the specific destiny we are actually living out today. Sanchita is that total reserve. It's heavily guarded and mostly out of reach, while Prarabdha, that's the working capital you are spending right now. It's the exact stage that was set for you in this specific lifetime.
But this leads us to a really critical juncture, when destiny fails.
So, what happens when our current life situations, our Prarabdha karma, feel completely stuck and inescapable? Can divine intervention just swoop in and rewrite the script for us? Well, let's look at another amazing story from the text. God visits a sage who is deeply, deeply immersed in penance. God is so pleased by this that he insists on granting the sage a boon. Now, the sage has absolutely no worldly desires, so he politely declines. But God insists. He says, "It's the rule. I have to grant you a wish." So the sage jokingly points to this old scar on his left ankle and says, "All right, fine, simply move this old scar from my left ankle over to my right ankle." And surprisingly, God gets visibly embarrassed. He looks at the sage and literally says, "My son, these things are Prarabdha karma, I cannot change them." And then he promptly vanishes. This is such a profound moment in the text. It reveals that even divine forces cannot just arbitrarily overwrite your prarabdha karma once it has been set in motion for this specific life. The rules of nature apply to everyone, even the divine.
Which brings us to the power of agamiya.
So, if our current destiny is locked in, and even God can't just wave a magic wand to change this specific environment we're currently in, where's the room for human free will? Well, this right here is the absolute most empowering concept in this entire explainer, the third type of karma. This is the key that unlocks the cage of fate and hands the power directly back to you. Let's talk about agameya karma.
Agamiya karma is the fresh investment you are making right now, in the present moment. While you are busy experiencing your prarabdha, your past withdrawals, how you choose to react, the conscious decisions you make today, the new actions you take, all of that generates agamiya karma. It is entirely self-made. It is born purely from your own free volition.
The crucial takeaway is captured perfectly in this quote right from the source. The agamiya is absolutely not under the control of our sanchita karma or in the grips of the gods. Think about that. Neither your massive past fate nor any divine entities control agamiya. It rests completely, 100% in your own hands. It hasn't been written yet. It is the blank page you are actively filling out today.
The source drives this home with a really brilliant, humorous parable. So a scholar brutally beats a cow to death. When confronted about it, he claims absolutely no responsibility. He says, hey, my hands belong to Lord Indra, so this sin is his. Later on, Lord Indra disguises himself as a lady and visits this scholar's beautiful garden, praising all the magnificent flowers. The scholar immediately puffs up his chest and brags, I created this garden inch by inch with my own 2 hands. Indra instantly transforms back and exposes the hypocrisy. He says, you gladly take credit for the beautiful garden, but you blame God for the terrible sin? The point is clear. Agamiya is yours. You own the good and you own the bad.
So let's talk about cultivating everyday virtues. Knowing that agamiya alone dictates our future and that it eventually becomes our sanchita karma, how do we make sure we're actually investing wisely? How do we use this incredible power of free will? Well, there's a profound story about the devas, representing angels, and the asuras, representing demons. God tested them both by tying their arms completely straight so they couldn't bend their elbows, and then placed food right in their hands. The asuras selfishly tried to feed themselves, throwing the food up into the air, trying to catch it in their mouths. They starved and made a massive mess. But the devas figured it out. Since they couldn't bend their arms to feed themselves, they simply reached out and fed each other directly. They feasted together through selfless cooperation.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point, told through this wild tale of 2 friends who each receive a boon from God. But there's a catch. Whatever they ask for, their neighbor automatically gets double. The jealous friend, wanting to ruin his neighbor, actually asks to lose one of his own eyes, just to ensure his neighbor goes completely blind. Crazy, right? But the second friend, a very kind man, knows his neighbor really needs a new roof. So he uses his boon to pray that his neighbor gets a nice house. Because the neighbor gets a nice house, the kind friend, by the rule of the boon, receives a house double the size. It shows that when the selfish motive dissolves, we naturally generate incredibly positive agamiya.
So, practically speaking, how do we create good agamiya in our own daily lives? The text points out something super important. We really shouldn't wait for some so-called auspicious time to do the right thing. There's a Tamil proverb mentioned that essentially means we should always prioritize conciliation and goodness without delay. You create good future karma by practicing everyday virtues right now in literally every interaction. The text beautifully ties this into universal wisdom, referencing this profound quote from Jesus Christ. The way you expect others to behave to you, same way you should behave to them. We all want other people to be patient, kind, and helpful to us, right? Generating positive agamiya is simply about becoming the source of those exact qualities for others. Empathy and active kindness, those are the actual practical tools we use to sculpt our destiny.
Bringing it all together, let's look at the final takeaway. In summary, your past karma, your prarabdha, built the exact environment you are standing in today. It set the stage, it placed the props, it gave you your initial challenges. But it absolutely does not force your next move. Your conscious actions, your free will, your agamiya right now, that is what is writing your future script.
So, knowing that the power to conquer fate is entirely in your own hands and that not even the gods can write your agamiya for you, what conscious choice are you going to make today? If you hold the pen to your destiny right now in this very moment, what will you write next? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this ancient wisdom empowers your next chapter.